A dozen years ago, I walked into the Harris County Jail for the first time. One of my students had been arrested for drug possession and was sitting downtown waiting for his arraignment. Like a lot of teenagers who had lost their way, he had nearly exhausted his parents' patience. He lied to them, stole money from them, and even now, after a trip to rehab, had relapsed and deepened his dependency on drugs. And it all led to where it so often leads: jail. The visiting hours were narrow and punitive, just in and of themselves. Just a few hours with thousands of people there to visit hundreds of inmates. We all crammed into the lobby, a mass of visitors, shoulder to shoulder in the heat of an underperforming air conditioner. We checked in. Their visitors are assigned a number and are taken upstairs to see their inmate in large groups, so you have to wait for your number, your group number, to be called. It takes hours. And then once your number is called, you're herded into an elevator. It's quite a scene. Fathers, sons, grandmothers, mothers clutching infants and toddlers are lifted to the visitation floor, where we all race to a little cubicle furnished with a small round metal chair and glass. Once you're seated, the inmates are allowed in. The seats and windows are so low that they have to walk stooped over to find whoever it is that's there to see them. And they're not even told who's there to see them, just somebody. When they do finally sit down and find you, it's not quite like the movies. At least it wasn't back then. There was a small hole with horizontal slits for the two of us to talk through. There was no phone back then, just that hole. But the seat is so far away from the glass, and there are 100 other people in the room trying to talk to someone else too. Listening and speaking are all but impossible. I had to press my ear to the slight slit just to almost hear. And there you are, bent over, with the clock ticking on your allotted time, not able to hear a thing. And this was the county jail. There are many places that are much, much worse. It wasn't until years later that I learned that Texas prisons don't have air conditioning, which causes dehydration and heat stroke, both of which can be fatal. It can also affect people's kidneys, liver, heart, brain, and lungs, which can cause renal failure, heart attack, stroke. Now, I get that you may not care about any of that. A lot of people don't care. They figure if you're in jail or if you're in prison, you deserve to be there. But as I think about that trip, my trip to the county jail, I'm reminded that I was there to see someone who had committed a crime. In fact, he had committed multiple crimes. He earned his orange jumpsuit. But I knew things about him that I didn't know about any other inmate. For starters, I knew that after they cooled off, his parents would pay whoever they needed to pay and come gather him up and take him home. But I also knew that he was actually guilty. And guess what? I didn't know any of that about anyone else there. Only in the last few years have I become aware of the hundreds of Texans imprisoned who are never assigned legal counsel and whose bail is set at such a high level that they cannot afford to leave jail. This results, just like you think it might, innocent inmates plead guilty just to start serving any sentence and hopefully get back to their lives. Or they languish in jail while their employer fires them and their family goes without income, without housing, without clothing. I recently read the story of a man named Maurice. In 2015, he was arrested and sat in jail awaiting trial. Since he couldn't afford an attorney, he was assigned a court-appointed lawyer, but still sat in jail on a bond he couldn't pay without a visit from his attorney for 12 months. That attorney had 325 other cases the year she took his case, more than double the state recommendations in Texas. Maurice is now out of jail, working, living his life, saving his money. He spent over a year in jail and in the end was convicted of nothing. Some U.S. citizens, for all intents and purposes, are legally unrepresented. And we know who those citizens are: the poor, the homeless, the suffering undiagnosed or untreated mental illnesses. In a word, those people are the vulnerable. This leads to more incarceration. And more incarceration leads to mass incarceration. And maybe you're one of the people who thinks, so what? That's justice. Well, what that is retributive justice. It's an eye for an eye, get off my lawn kind of justice. But the reality is, when we open up the scriptures, that's not the kind of justice we find there. Really, it's not even justice. Do the people in the scriptures suffer consequences for their choices? Absolutely. But there are a few things that don't happen in the scriptures. In the Bible, justice isn't meted out based on where someone lives or who has money or access. The guilty are guilty because of their guilt, not their income or education or who they know or their place in society. But even more so, biblical justice is not about retribution, but restoration. In Numbers 12, Moses' brother and sister, Aaron and Miriam, are punished because of their prejudice. They slander Moses' wife, Zipporah, because she's a Cushite woman, she's black. So God intervenes. Miriam is struck with leprosy. A lot of us might say, good, she deserved it. But that's not the end of the story. When Aaron sees what happens to his sister, he immediately repents to Moses. And what then does Moses do? Moses turns to God and says, "Oh God, please heal her. Restore her." Here's what's remarkably beautiful about that story. Moses shifts from being a victim to advocating for those who victimized him. The move throughout the scriptures is always toward restoration. So, many people have asked what they can do in the face of a retributive system that seems to be more concerned with being a legal system than being a justice system. Well, I want to introduce you to our friends at Restoring Justice. Restoring Justice provides client-centered representation to marginalized members of our community who are facing criminal charges. That means expert criminal defense legal representation, social work services, trauma-informed counseling, spiritual support, and volunteer connections. They are some of our Houston partners that are providing healing and repelling the scourge of mass incarceration. I want you to hear some of their stories. The women and men who are served by Restoring Justice are reacquainted with the dignity, worth, and wholeness with which God created them. I want you to meet a man named Iris. He's the kind of person Restoring Justice represents. Iris was in a challenging relationship when his wife falsely accused him of pulling a gun on her. Because Iris had a record from over a decade ago, he was taken to jail. He languished there until the founder of Restoring Justice took up his case. I also want you to hear from Megan, a woman not unlike many of us, who came to believe that Jesus was serious when he taught that the mark of true disciples is to visit the prisoner. That's what she did, and it's changed who she is. She serves as an Adelphoi for Restoring Justice. Adelphoi means brother. Adelphoi volunteers engage in the work of reforming our criminal justice system by developing restorative and emotionally supportive relationships with Restoring Justice clients. The Adelphoi visits, prays with, and is present for the client throughout the legal process and potentially beyond. The scriptures are clear. Jesus came to proclaim freedom for the prisoners. Jesus didn't mean that criminals shouldn't be held accountable. What Jesus knew is that all of us are much more than our worst moment. And that's the part of us he sees. It's the light inside us, the divine spark aching to be released. If we follow Jesus, the number of people in our prisons and suffering from the fact that they have been imprisoned does not make us strong on crime. It makes us weak on restoration.
As a black man in Texas, they look at it that they feel their life as a black man. They feel for black man. They feel a black man is gonna do them more harm than anybody else. That's why you see so many dead blacks today. That's why that we are under, not up on top. I don't look at the color of my skin. Color of my skin don't change me. My inside and who I believe changed me. My journey with Restoring Justice started about 3 years ago. I got up to go get the kids some breakfast. When I come back, police, ambulance, all in my house. They were standing in front of my house. I said, what is the problem? Man, no, I ain't putting no gun on her. Do you have a gun? Yes, I got a gun. It's on the locker. You want me to go get it? No, you can follow us. They handcuffed me and everything. That tore me down real bad. Because I was in the car crying, Lord, what is going to happen to my kids? What is going to happen to my kids? Well, do you want me to be your lawyer? I said, sure. I said, I can't face that court because I have a felony charge with so far back. I can't face that court with this aggravated assault. And he said, I see the records already. He said they offer you 5 to 99 years. So I said, Mr. Drew, I ain't did nothing. I said, I promise you everything on God's word. I haven't did anything. I could walk back even though I was crying and walking back, but the joy was in me is I got somebody there for me. God has placed somebody in my life that gonna help me and not gonna use me and not gonna try to get me back in the penitentiary. He came back the next day. He called me out in the courtroom and he told the judge, he said, he's not guilty. We need to settle my bonds. We want to get him out. He threw both hands up like this here. He threw both hands up in there like this. He come running on that to me. He said, "Come on, let's go, let's go." I said, "What's wrong, man? Talk." He said, come on, let's go outside." I said, "What happened?" He said, "They no bill all the charges on me and told me, you go home, take care of your boys." So now here I am today with my 8 boys. They jumped out of that van and they ain't looked back. They come straight to me. "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." Boy, I tell you, it was like, oh God, Jesus have mercy. Jesus, God just, oh man. I'm still rejoicing, man. And I got them now. I'm still rejoicing. Right now, the system is so messed up that that's why I teach my boys. If the police tell you, put both hands on the steering wheel, put them on there. If they tell you to get out of the car, get out, shut this up, lock your mouth. If he push you, just go head on. We can work with that, but I can't work with you under the ground. We can do something about that, the abuse. But if he done killed you, I can't deal with that. As a black man in Texas, they feel their life.
There's nothing like a blank page. You get to start from scratch. It could be anything, man. There is no catch. It's a good place for a dreamer, a good place for a dreamer to dream away. A blank page. There's nothing like a clean slate. You get another shot. To do things like you meant to the first time you picked up the chalk. And it's a good day for a sinner, a good day for a sinner. So why wait for a clean slate? Sometimes I get caught up where I never meant to be. It's the curse of being free. It's the curse of being free. But baby, it's a good day for the travelers and the sinners, all the would-be winners. The everyday begin again. Begin againers. There's nothing like a full tank and an open road. 'Cause every destination is between somewhere and somewhere else in this great nation, and it's your world. And it's a good thing for a traveler, a good thing for a traveler, like cash in the bank and a full tank. Sometimes I get caught up where I never meant to be. It's the curse of being free. It's the curse of being free. But baby, it's a good day for the travelers and the sinners, all the would-be winners. Every day begin again. Oh, begin againers. Begin againers. Oh, begin againers.
My name's Megan Orr, and I have lived in Houston for the last year. The summer that we moved here, so a year ago, I read the book Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson, and my heart was totally broken. I was like, this is incredible in the most terrible way to hear the real stories of what was going on in the United States justice system. I think that I was experiencing more and more the sense that Jesus is near to the brokenhearted. Jesus is near to those who are hurting, those who have experienced injustice. And so if I wanted to experience more Jesus, I needed to go to those places and be with those people. The first time I went to visit Willie, I went to the Harris County Jail. I had never been to a jail in my life. The whole thing was very uncomfortable, to be honest. So you first get there and there's a really long line that goes all the way out into the street of mostly family members of inmates that are waiting in line to visit. And as I was standing in that line, I realized I'm the only white person in this line, which was telling just who is inside the jail. I get in, and then once you get upstairs, you wait again. So finally, he came out and he looked a little confused, honestly, because he had no idea who I was or why I was coming to visit him. It was definitely uncomfortable at first, I think probably for both of us. I'm looking at him, I mean, he had some face tattoos, he's large, his visible presence is somewhat frightening. And yet, as I sat across from him and listened to him tell me about his kids and his growing up experience in Houston, there was just this tenderness and sweetness of, you're a person just like me. I mean, in the jail, I think there's a lot of things that the inmates experience that take away their sense of humanity. I think by sitting across from him and listening to him and talking to him, there was this restoration of humanity. The experience of sitting in the courtroom in and of itself, apart from Willie's case, was extremely eye-opening. Just the public defenders that just don't have time to properly defend these people, and then them getting pushed by the judge and the prosecutor to say they're guilty to things they're not, just because out of fear for getting like a higher sentence. It was so hard. This is the first letter that I received from Willie after he was in prison. Hey, Miss Megan, how are you today? I'm fine. I really enjoyed your letter. It made my day, and you must know God don't make mistakes. So he put me here, maybe to save my life. The dude that sleeps next to me has 60 years for killing someone. So yeah, I sometimes sleep with one eye open. But I'm not gonna take up our whole letter talking about the bad, but the good that this is for me. God saved me. I'm from a place where it's no hope, but it might sound crazy, but this gives me hope. I'm getting my mind, my body, and soul right with God. Even look at you. You don't owe me nothing, but you are willing to help me. That's got to be God. I've been poor all my life, but love is the best riches you can ever ask for. And I know God loves us, you and me, and the world. Thanks for getting my babies things for Christmas. It means a lot to me and them too. You are truly a blessing to me. Have a great day. God bless, Willie. I was so blown away by his graciousness, his attitude, like the way that he was taking something that you look at as so negative and seeing something so positive and beautiful about it. I will write him letters trying to encourage him and also trying to share my own real struggles. And the letters that he writes me back are so filled with hope, and like he has become my encourager. And it really was that experience, I think, that originally that I felt like one of the reasons I was drawn to this is because the people who have experienced the most suffering, that God is the most real to them. Through my relationship with Willie, I feel like God has become more real to me. He sees God as so real in his situation of injustice. And so it helps me to look at my life and the things that are hard for me and say, am I looking at God as real and seeing him as real as Willie is in prison?
I'm Drew Willie, and along with my wife Jessica, we started Restoring Justice. It was actually about the time we were attending Ecclesia, and we were just fed with the love for justice and mercy for our brothers and sisters. Some of the earliest supporters came from the body at Ecclesia. We recognized a vast need inside the criminal justice system. I'm a criminal defense attorney. There was one case in particular while I was in law school. It was a death penalty case that I served in the last hours of this man's life, who was wrongfully executed by the state of Texas. He was poor, he was black, and he was mentally ill, and no one ever told his story. That shouldn't happen in this world. That shouldn't happen in Houston, Texas. But it does, and it happens thousands of times every single month. When that man, Marvin Wilson, was executed, I went to a Bible study, and I heard Proverbs 31, 8, and 9. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. Christ's calling is for us to do just that. And I want to welcome and invite everyone at Ecclesia into that mission. If you want to join us and engage in this mission, we have 3 options. We have a new ambassador program that is run by our volunteer coordinator, Mike Nichols. It's a way to learn, you'll get meetings, you'll be invited and have resources to be able to walk the path of understanding what's needed in this mission. The second option, if you're ready for a deeper commitment, is to serve in the way Megan served, as an adelphoi, a brother or sister in Christ to someone who needs freedom. And the third option would be to visit our website, restoringjustice.org. We're so thankful for Ecclesia on partnering with us, and the first step is just learning more about this mission. So we have a resource page on our website that has books that you can read to begin that process. And then we also have a donation page. Obviously, it takes financial resources, and we'd like to invite you to financially partner with us if you are able in this season. Thank you so much, Ecclesia, and here's to freedom for as many people as possible.